Conquerors have always attracted attention. Previously, they were practically idolized, since war has been deified since ancient times and sung about. The current ideas about war as something dirty and vile appeared quite recently and are mainly explained by the habit of a sharply jumped level of comfort and life expectancy. But, even despite this, the conquerors attract enormous attention. Perhaps this is due to the fact that these people, no matter how gloomy their craft, were either geniuses of thought or geniuses of will who managed to subdue huge masses of people and direct them in the right direction, achieving the best results. Therefore, today I present to your attention the 5 greatest. I'll note right away that great warriors like all sorts of Ragnar Lothbroks will not get into the top, because a powerful raid is not a conquest. The Scandinavian military archetype was generally interesting in that, while fighting well almost everywhere, in the long term, the Scandinavians managed to gain a foothold only in small patches. Although there were more than heroes, the complete opposite of them is the Turks. In terms of the number of epic personalities, they are clearly losing, but when they started moving, they went like a skating rink and held their positions for a long time. So, let's begin. Attila. He managed to seize territories from the Volga to the Atlantic, forming his own version of the EU. And this is not a joke, since many peoples of Europe stood under his banner, not counting those who came with him from Asia. It is difficult to say exactly who he was by origin, because there is still no unequivocal clarity on the Huns, although the majority assumes that they were still Turks. It is known about him only from the words of his enemies, who put him in an unsightly light, and even framed by legends. But most likely he was no worse than other conquerors. Be that as it may, but it is his name that is associated with the great migration of nations most of all. In some ways, he was similar to the Hun Alexander, for as soon as he went to the land of his ancestors, his empire collapsed, and the Huns assimilated in that cauldron of tribes and peoples, which Attila had also brewed. Cyrus II Great founded the Persian kingdom of the Achaemenids. In the middle of the 6th century BC, he united the Persian tribes and led them against the Medes, whose dominion he abolished. Further expansion followed and the Persian kingdom began to be supplemented by Armenia, Assyria, Parthia, Cappadocia. Before Cyrus, no one could resist, and then many preferred to voluntarily join his power. In addition, it ensured stable trade, so there was a reason for such a decision. As a result, a gigantic empire was formed, wiping from the Balkans, the western Black Sea region, Egypt, and Palestine to India, the Hindu Kush and Central Asia. In the south, the empire rested on the Indian Ocean. This is impressive even today, and in the ancient world it was an unprecedented event. Interestingly, when Cyrus took Babylon, he released the peoples who were in Persian captivity. He was generally set up in an international in spirit. But the Jews, who were also in captivity, decided that all this was started for their sake alone and glorified Cyrus in their sacred texts. In Cyrus, the Jews saw the hand of the god Yahweh, although Cyrus revered all conceivable gods in general, being an extremely seasoned pagan, and patronized all cults, reasonably believing that it was easier to unite peoples, giving them the opportunity to profess any beliefs than forcing them to become adherents of one faith. Alas, having conquered vast expanses, one day Cyrus went to fight with the Musagetes, another Iranian-speaking people, where he died, which once again shows that he was not only a politician, not only a commander, but also a warrior. Alexander the Great. He had 2 passions, war and Greek culture. At the same time, he worshipped Cyrus the Great. Actually, about the same as Cyrus, and he won. Military exploits have already been listed too often to be repeated. Therefore, I will note something important, but unpopular. Babylon for the first time gave birth to the idea to unite the peoples under a single authority, and not to enslave them in the Assyrian spirit. Alexander decided to conquer as many spaces as possible and unite them under the banner of Greek culture. It can be said that Alexander wanted to enchant the world with what he himself was fascinated by. However, his project failed. Like the Babylonian, for only a few were fascinated, while the rest preferred to eat. Subsequently, the ideas of uniting the world under the banner of law, the Roman idea, love, the Christian idea, monotheism, the Arab guess, and universal justice, the Soviet dream, will fail in exactly the same way, and the very fact that Alexander is usually considered almost exclusively a commander indicates that after more than 2 millennia, humanity is indifferent to his ideas. Tamerlane, a tall, at that time, lean hero of mixed Turkic-Mongolian origin, he was distinguished not only by his power and passion for war, but by his completely impassive mind. He was known not only as a brave man who retained a simply insulting clarity of mind in any situation, but also as an excellent chess player and owner of excellent artistic taste. At the same time, he possessed not brutal, but rational scale cruelty. He conquered almost the same territories as Cyrus, shook the Golden Horde, which largely determined the further course of world history. He made Samarkand his capital, and since Tamerlane patronized art and revered learning, this city for the time being became the most beautiful city in the world. He dreamed of conquering the whole world, simply because, in the understanding of Tamerlane, 2 rulers are too many. The conqueror died during a campaign in China. Genghis Khan founded the Mongol Empire, which was further expanded by his descendants. He spent most of his life on strengthening his power in the Great Steppe. He is unique in that he was the son of a small tribal leader, in general, to whom no one in the world cared. At the same time, the son of a defeated leader, doomed to lead the life of an outcast. He did not shine with personal military talent, but he knew how, like Octavian Augustus, to choose the right people and unite them around his personality. So he was able to consider the military genius of Subedii and Gebe, who became the creators of his victories. Genghis Khan himself paid great attention to intelligence, including economic intelligence, which was subsequently expressed in strikes against the enemy's trade communications. In the political field, he was close to the same Cyrus the Really Great, preferring not to infringe on the rights of the local population too much, was not alien to a number of progressive ideas. In the West, it is traditionally assessed in a negative way, but no one even there doubts its greatness. But there are more than questions for Western rulers. By the time of his death, Genghis Khan owned gigantic territories, the size of modern China and India combined, and unlike many other rapidly expanding empires, the empire of Genghis Khan lasted quite a long time. Important amendments. In conclusion, it should be noted that the predominance of immigrants from the steppe world, with a shortage of Europeans, is quite understandable. In the steppe, progress is more stable, while Europe, with its extreme heterogeneity in population, is too difficult a place to conquer. And no matter what they say about divide and rule, it is often easier to conquer one weakened state, for example, China, than a bunch of small ones, like, for example, the Caucasian peoples. In view of this, the conquest of Gaul by Caesar is an extremely difficult task. It is also worth recognizing that we know little about the military talents of Attila, and it was not by chance that Genghis Khan entrusted the war to Subedii and Geba. Therefore, perhaps they should be replaced by Julius Caesar and Napoleon, who were both warriors, generals, and rulers.